In the last several weeks, there's been a lot of larger jiu-jitsu tournaments, and based on how well one of the competitors did, and these the more prominent tournaments, he was approached by a apparel company, a jiu-jitsu apparel company. They do gis and rash guards and stuff, and they asked him if he could be a brand ambassador, and they asked him if he could sign a brand ambassador agreement. And the jiu-jitsu competitor reached out. He goes, "Hey, you know what? They're asking me to sign this agreement. I don't speak great English because I'm Brazilian, but and he asked me what's it involve." And I said, well, typically when you have a brand ambassador agreement, you enter into an agreement with a party. You identify the parties, and it can be interesting. It can be tricky if it's Nike and they're doing shoes and uniforms and equipment and sports equipment and t-shirts and tank tops. Well, their agreement obviously is going to be much broader. If you're doing someone who is only doing backpacks or mats, it's going to be more limited. And so typically a brand ambassador agreement will identify the parties. It will talk about the duties of the brand ambassador, talk about the length of the contract. Obviously, if you're a rising star and your value is going to be much greater in the future, you might want to go with a shorter term. If you're close to retirement, like a LeBron James, he probably wants an ambassador agreement as long as possible, so he gets checks as long as possible in the future. You also talk about early termination and the termination clause, like morality clauses. If someone is convicted of child molestation, obviously the company probably shouldn't have to keep paying that person to be a brand ambassador. Compensation, how much you're worth is negotiable. You have to talk about that. And then one of the most important parts is the ownership of the product, of the reels or the posts or the videos. Who owns that after it's been up on Instagram, or it's been up on TikTok, or it's been up on YouTube? Who owns it? And then the other part is confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements. If they that you treat them badly, or they treat you badly, whether or not you guys can disparage each other in the media, which doesn't come up that often, but not like that. All right, but confidentiality and non-disclosure. Beyond that, you want to identify which state laws apply. If you're more comfortable with California laws, or you want, a lot of times people want Delaware laws because there's a lot of confidentiality associated with some of the Delaware laws, or New York, where people are more comfortable with a venue provision saying that the case has to be brought and tried in California, if you're in California, or in New York. Now, it's very inconvenient if you're a California resident and you don't want to travel to New York every couple months for court hearings, that the case actually, under the choice of venue provision, be provided in that state. Those are what you deal with on a brand ambassador agreement.